Welcome back to the Healing Version Podcast. It's your host, Debo. Welcome back to the Healing Version Podcast. It's your host, Debo. Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back. Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back. Hey, y'all. And welcome back to another episode of the Healing Version Podcast. And the very first episode of the Dysfunctional Family series. Yeah, it's about time. It's a time. We talk about it. Let's get into it. Accountability. Hey, accountability. Hey y'all, and welcome back to another episode of the Healing Version Podcast. I am your host, Deborah, and today we are going to be discussing poor communication and lack of accountabilities within the family. This kicks off the series of the Dysfunctional Family podcast series that I am doing here on the Healing Version. Please keep in mind that if you are interested in speaking on any of these subjects, please reach out to me. I'll tell you what I have planned as far as what I'll be discussing in this series and where you fit in and where you like to come and have the conversation with me. I really encourage y'all to come on and have a conversation with me. I don't mind having these conversations alone and just putting it out here for y'all, but I feel like the dialogue between two people is just, it's unmatched, but it is what it is. So as we dive into this series, I just want to encourage you to think about your life, how people fit into your life. Do they fit into your life? Where they fit into your life? And just make sense of it all. One thing that I think about often is how I used to think that I was born into the wrong family. But then I realized that God placed me in the right family to be the person to have these hard conversations that I have here on my podcast, and also to encourage you to also have those conversations. It's very important for our healing. It's a part of our healing to be able to open up and have hard, tough conversations that nobody wants to talk about. Healing is all about turning that mirror around and taking a look at yourself and being able to self-reflect and figure out where the healing needs to come from within you. So when I think about discussing dysfunctional families with you all, I think about several questions. One of those questions is, how many of you grew up in a family where no one apologized? Not an adult, especially them. But you know, what you have, you instill into your kids. So if the adult's not apologizing, surely the kids aren't. But I'm sure there are some rare occasions where the kids have better manners than the adults. But just basically in a household where nobody apologizes. Somebody offends you, they do something to you, get over it. They don't have to say, I'm sorry. They don't have to apologize, mostly because they're not sorry. So I'm real big on that. I don't want a person apologizing to me if they don't really mean it. And if you are apologizing, I need you to say why you're apologizing. I'm sorry, it's not good enough. I apologize, it's not good enough. I need to know why you're sorry, why you're apologizing. So after I'm sorry, there needs to be an explanation after that. Yeah. And then how many of you grew up in a family where problems were ignored instead of resolved? Like, you know, there's an issue. Maybe the issue was brought up, but nobody wants to face it. Nobody wants to deal with it. So it goes unresolved, which adds on to dysfunction. Here's another question. This one triggers me a little bit. How many of you grew up in a family where speaking up meant that you were being disrespectful? And I feel like as kids, it was always stay in a child's place, don't talk back to adults. Well, y'all do know that adults are not always right. And there should always be a space where children can speak up and tell you when you're in the wrong. And that can be done in a respectful manner. I know it can because it happens at my house. I allow my kids to hold me accountable for things. If I say I'm going to do something and you're finding that it's not happening, you should be able to speak up and say, hey, you said this, but it didn't happen. Or you said it'll happen like this, but it happened like that. It can be done in a respectful manner, but I feel like all in all, it's just something that is frowned upon. You don't speak up, you don't say anything, you stay in a child's place and you just be quiet. Not cool. So, today we are going to be exploring two major causes of family dysfunction, and that is poor communication and lack of accountability. We will discuss these and ways to break free of its dysfunction. Let's get into it. All right, so the first thing that I like to discuss is the root cause of poor communication. One of the biggest things with poor communication is fear of conflict. So this is when you avoid tough conversations to prevent tension. You don't want to have tension with this person. You don't want to create an issue. You don't want conflict. There's a lot of people who don't like conflict. They don't like confrontation. It's just sweep it under the rug. We're not gonna, and that's not a dig at that person. That's a dig at the person that they really can't go to, because it's more than likely in a family, it's somebody who yelled at you or made you feel little or made you feel like you couldn't come to them or you're scared of them. And more than likely, if you're scared of a person, you're not going to stand up to them because you're going to avoid conflict, right? All right. So the next thing that I want to talk about is assumptions and misunderstandings. Failing to clarify intentions, leading to confusion. So assumptions, misunderstanding, and miscommunication, they all go together. Because you can assume something. Somebody could say something, you can misunderstand it. Somebody can say something in a way where it's miscommunicated. But if you don't clarify the intentions or ask questions, how does that person know? Because it could be something like, a lot of times, like, I don't like to text certain things because I'm not really sure how the tone of the text is going to come off versus if I called you and said, hey, and you can hear my tone, feel my energy, whatever. Same situation. Just hold yourself accountable in making somebody clarify something. I didn't understand what you mean by that. But again, if it's somebody you're afraid of, maybe you don't want to speak up and have them clarify what they meant. So the next thing is emotional reactivity, responding from emotion rather than logic, causing defensiveness. So instead of listening and taking yourself away from how you feel and kind of maybe going into the other person's shoes or just simply listening, you allow your emotions to take over. So now you're not listening. You don't want to hear nothing. You're defensive. You ain't talking to me. You have me messed up. Blah, 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 blah. Whatever that looks like. Then also something else that is really big and I think is probably should be at the top of the list for root causes of poor communication is generational patterns. If you grew up in a family where people did not communicate when things happened, you soak that up as a kid. Like, kids are sponges, so they soak up things. They soak up whatever patterns they see within the household. So if you are seeing this as a child, well, when this happens or when mom and dad get into an argument, like they separate and they give each other silent treatment and they're not talking, and that's how we handle situations. So when I become an adult, I'm gonna do the same thing: shut down, not communicate, and it's a cycle. It's a generational pattern. It's a cycle, and I urge you to put an end to it so that your kids can communicate effectively, your grandkids, and on down. And if not for future generations, for yourself. There's so much peace in breaking loose of these generational things that have been passed down to us, the traumas and the this and the that and all that toxic stuff. We're going to dive deep into it on this series of Dysfunctional Family. So the next thing that I like to speak on is the consequences of poor communication. So with poor communication, you have unresolved tension, broken trust, emotional distance. So when you think of unresolved tension, you have those small issues. They grow into larger conflicts and they just get bigger when not addressed. And again, it goes back to misunderstanding. I feel like a lot of things be misunderstanding, and then some of it just be lack of accountability, which we will discuss. And then with broken trust, with miscommunication, it leads to misunderstandings and loss of faith in each other. Because now I don't believe nothing you say because you didn't stand on what you said last time when it could have just been something that we communicated about. So communicate, open up, talk. I think that generational pattern thing is really sticking with me because I feel like as kids, if you are around a community of people, family members, and you see that when these people when they don't agree, they just like don't talk to each other. Now as a child, you're soaking that up. Your kids are sponges, so you're soaking that up and you think that is the correct way to handle situations. So now whenever somebody gets you upset, now you feel like it's okay to not communicate or shut down or however you've seen it handled in the household. And it's just not always right. I think one of the things that I like for the adults to do is to be more considerate of the kids in these situations, because like our actions and the things that we decide to do, it creates a wedge in relationships for our children that shouldn't even be there. So yeah, we gotta get it together. Another thing would be with poor communication is how it plays out within like families. So like I spoke earlier, like not talking to a person, it's silent treatment punishment. So basically you're using the silence to control or punish the person instead of addressing the issue. Like open your mouth. Like people can open their mouth for nasty shit, but can't open their mouth to communicate an issue. And I feel like a lot of this stuff is just things that I feel like my generation is just tired of. We want like it to stop, and I feel like our parents' generation have just pretty much given up on things. They don't really like to communicate. And I ain't saying all of our parents' generation. Again, I'm speaking about my family. Like talk. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of y'all have the mentality that like, oh, you grown now, so it's up to you. Like after you traumatized me for the first 17, 18, 21 years of my life and still trying to traumatize me as an adult, you think that I'm going to be this open to communicate and open to bring my kids around person to you. No, you traumatized me and then you swept it under the rug like it didn't matter, and that's not cool. So I need you to get it together. So yeah, I see a lot of that within my family. So like, okay, let's rewind a little bit, right? So as many of you know, I had two passings in my family in February, back to back, like a week apart, right? So that meant that I had to get ready for two different, a funeral and a memorial. One was on my dad's side, one was on my mom's side. which I thought was like crazy, but whatever. Anyway, so that caused me to have to come into contact with a lot of family members. And I'm always happy to see family. Like, I don't like y'all, but I love y'all. Let me say that again. I don't like y'all, but I love y'all. I don't like the dysfunction. And I've seen a lot of dysfunction, a lot of people not knowing how to communicate. I hope this doesn't sound harsh. If it does, I don't care. You can't wait until a person dies and they're no longer here to want to like make things right with them. Do I need to say that again? You can't wait until a person dies and they're no longer here to try to make it right with them. It just doesn't work that way. What you have to do is you have to make it right while they're still living, breathing, and on the same earth as you. You know, like while they're still walking around, they can get flowers and smell them. You make it right then. You don't wait until they pass and now, oh my God, you're heartbroken. You're so sad. It's just, oh my God. And this is not for people who have decided that they're done with certain relationships and it's just not, it's just not what it is. And that person passed on, but you just got to think like when that person was alive, y'all didn't really have a relationship, you didn't care for it. So it's okay if you feel like that after they pass on. Now, if it's somebody that's going to pass on and you're going to be feeling horrible about it, you should probably make up and get right with that person. Don't know why I went off on that tangent, but I did. Somebody needed to hear it. But anyway, so another thing with the role of poor communication within dysfunctional families is we don't talk about the rule, right? We don't talk about it, that rule. Like I'm gonna talk about a lot of this in my molestation episode that I'll have, because I feel like that we don't talk about that is a very toxic and vital thing that the family has instilled. I know, especially like with the black families, they'll protect like a child molester before they protect like a homosexual. It's like, I don't know, like, oh, it's a homosexual, run, but it's my brother, he touched kids, it's okay, it's my brother. No, absolutely not. But this is not the episode for that. But I don't know, I felt led to say that for some reason. So when you do that, we don't talk about that. You're basically avoiding uncomfortable situations, but there'd be necessary conversations. Like, it'd be conversations that need to be had. But to avoid accountability, which is the next thing we're going to talk about, you say, oh, we don't talk about that. We don't bring that up. We're not talking about that. It's thus sweeping Legos under the rug. So now you got more Legos up under the rug. The rug is just, if you stand on top of it, you gonna fall. Okay? It's not a good place for foundation. Gush, gush. Gotta get it together. And then there is the passive aggressive communication. It's indirectly expressing anger, causing confusion and tension. Like, if you got an issue with me, just say what it is. Be adults. Like, these kids are communicating better than adults, and I think that is truly sad. It's truly sad that my 7-year-olds can express that a person is going against their boundaries, or they can articulate how they feel to put people in their place. And there's adults who can't even put people in their place. I'm not saying you have to be disrespectful, but you need to put people in their place, especially people who are like that passive aggressive, because those will be the people who don't want to take accountability. So they're going to be like, yeah, no, you ain't going, yeah, it ain't that, because now they don't want to have that conversation, because when you start putting mirrors in people's face and they have to look at themselves, they don't like what they see. But that's part of healing. You don't like what you see, go heal. Go do something about it. Go hug a tree. Go sit in some grass. Go drink some water for a change. And stop drinking all the alcohol. Like, do something that is going to help you find peace. a lot of y'all just ain't got no peace in you. You know, it's a way to get there. I'm not saying it's easy, it's an easy road, but this healing is so necessary to get out of those constant toxic cycles that a lot of us be in. So, with that being said, we're going to move on to the next thing that I feel is foundational, or that is a root cause, I should say, within dysfunctional families. And I just want to say that poor communication and lack of accountability are not in any set order. That is just the way that I chose to talk about them. Poor communication is not higher than lack of accountability. I feel like they are best friends and they hold hands, and they some toxic hoes. Okay, and we need to not deal with them. We don't want to deal with them. You leave poor communication and lack of accountability over there. They not part of us. They can't sit with us. They not like us. They not like us. Okay, so what does lack of accountability look like? What does it look like? Blame shifting, pointing fingers instead of owning your mistakes. That conversation that I had earlier when I said that a lot of parents, like once your kids get older, you start being like, oh, well, they grown now. I had somebody tell me that their parent who brought upon hurt, abandonment, trust issues, brought all of these things upon them as a child and even as an adult, and they was expressing this to the parent, and the parent's reply was, get over it, you're grown now. Then I heard another person from our parents' generation say, these kids, they get grown, and then they want somebody to be trying to figure out what's wrong with them, and they don't want to come around, and they don't want to bring the kids around. I don't care. You grown now. Do what you want to do. Again, like I said earlier, y'all bring upon that trauma and all that BS, and y'all pile all of that stuff on us, and then we get older. But I'm so proud of a lot of us are facing these things, and we're healing from them, and we're getting through it. And I really urge our parents' generations to get on board with the healing, guys. Get on board with it. It's okay. It's okay to be vulnerable and say how you really feel and talk about the things that happened to you when you were a child, the things that your parents allowed to happen to you. Like, it's okay. Like, you're not too old. You're not too old for therapy. You're not too old to sit down and have conversations. Your kids aren't too grown for you to go and apologize and own up to the stuff that you did that got them jacked up right now today. Like, you're not. So, yeah, get it together. Stop blame shifting. All right, the next thing, excuse making. A lot of you got this bad. Making excuses. Rationalizing bad behavior instead of correcting it. I heard, the whole scenario I just gave is excuse making. You're making an excuse for not being a decent person and going to your child. And I'm not saying it's all on the parents either, y'all. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's all on them. Like, us as kids and adults, we can, be grown up and have conversations and stuff with our parents too. But I feel like a lot of them are just trying to get away with this whole notion that, oh, they grown now. I ain't got whatever happened when they was little, it is what it is. But a lot of y'all grown kids are still dealing with traumas from their childhood. If you didn't know it, now you know. And anyway, silence as avoidance. So not talking, not speaking, ignoring the problems instead of addressing them, not saying anything, coming around that person and just, if I don't say nothing and they don't say nothing, I guess we ain't gonna talk. Like, yeah, I'm so fed up and frustrated with this whole toxic mentality of families and how dysfunctional it is and how people don't see their wrongdoings and the things that they do. The only thing they see is what the other person did. Just no accountability whatsoever. And if you are one of those people, if any of this stuff that I'm saying hits home and you are like this, I urge you to go heal, please. Another thing that happens with lack of accountability is the gaslighting, which is denying or minimizing others' experiences to avoid responsibility. So, now that it happened, trying to make somebody think that what they know happened to them and what they experience and their experiences and their feelings that's not what happened. You just feel like that's not what happened. This is what happened. That's not okay. That's one of the biggest lack of accountability things that I see is that gaslighting. I think a lot of people they're so programmed to gaslight, they don't even be knowing that they be doing it. It's sick, it's sad. So I urge you to think of some people that avoid taking responsibility and think about how their lack of accountability is impacting the family. Think about that. So, some real life examples of accountability avoidance. Somebody who says, because I said so. This is especially true with parents. And I ain't saying y'all always got to give these kids an explanation. Sometimes it is because I said so. I don't have to give you an explanation or explain to you, something that I said. And however, some situations require an explanation. Like sometimes it's okay to say, well, this is why, like, y'all be trying to avoid accountability. Y'all don't want to be called out on y'all stuff, and I don't like that for y'all. I just don't. Have you ever had somebody say to you, you made me do it? Like, and this is probably true in like abusive relationships. Sorry if I trigger anybody, I apologize. But like abusive relationships, whether it's between partners, domestic violence, or it's a parent that's abusing their child, and then look at that person like, you made me do this. Like, if you didn't do this, I wouldn't have did that. And it's like, no, you need to take accountability because you have no self-control and you keep your hands to yourself. That's what you need to do. And I ain't talking about the parents, like, if they need they bottom whoop, then, whoop the bottom. But this is more so for those people who are just beaten because that's what they like to do. They like to get drunk in a mug and just like hit on their wife and kids and do stuff like that. Yeah, this is more so for you. So the next thing that I like to speak about when it comes to accountability avoidance is the emotional toll that accountability avoidance has on us as a people. So the first thing is it builds resentment. Unaddressed mistakes cause long-term resentment. How many of you can think about somebody that that this person just outright just did something and they just did not hold themselves accountable, or they were just in denial or gaslighting or whatever, however they handled the situation, they did that, and now you just like, you can't stand them. Like, I don't like you. I love you, but I don't like you. Think about that person, and that's who we're talking about. Then there is emotional exhaustion. Carrying the burden of others' mistakes can drain your mental energy. Oh, this right here hits home for me. It hits home because I'm an empath. And so I naturally take on people's feelings and emotions anyway. So to have to deal with that, and it's tied to lack of accountability, oh, please don't sign me up. Take me out, coach. I don't want to play. Because that's That's a lot. And if you're an empath, you know that like being an empath is a lot. Like I'm learning to embrace it because it is a gift, but at the same time, baby, it's mentally draining. But that's okay. That's okay. It's definitely a blessing. Um Another emotional toll is role reversal. This is when one person becomes the fixer or scapegoat in the family. Um, ugh. Becoming the fixer, the scapegoat is kind of it's like a double edged sword for real because it's like, oh my goodness, like I do want to help, but then like that can become a lot because you have some people who just don't learn and they'll just keep coming to you and keep coming to you and keep coming to you, and you could be filling their cup up and your cup empty and they don't got not a sprinkle spot dap drip nothing to put into your cup. Only thing they can do is drain you and your energy. Those are energy vampires. Stay away from them. So I want you to think about a person who often carries the emotional labor in dysfunctional families. How does that person look? Like how much of a toll is it on that person's mental? Like, are they anxious? They go through depression? Think about that. So, like, the next time you decide to not be accountable for your actions, think about who you're affecting with your actions and then put yourself in their shoes and think, like, would I like if somebody did this to me? Is this okay? No, it's not. I'll answer for you. So, and the next thing that I want to talk about is the long term effects of dysfunction. So we're talking about poor communication. We're talking about lack of accountability. We're talking about dysfunction. Long-term effects. Struggles within relationships, which is huge, which is the whole point of me recording this series, is because the struggles with the relationships within the family dynamic that I witness, that I see, that I hear about, it breaks my heart. But as long as you have dysfunction, you'll continue to have struggling relationships until people decide to open their mouth and communicate their feelings, how you made me feel, what you did. That until people communicate and then also hold themselves accountable when the person communicates what the issue is, how you made me feel, what you did, blah, blah, blah. Whatever the situation is, you fill in the blank. So, struggles with relationships is a huge long term effect, which causes difficulty in forming healthy romantic relationships and most of all personal relationships. Because I'm going to tell you like this, if you don't have a good relationship with your kids, your mother, you really shouldn't even be pursuing anybody romantically. Now, if you're in a situation where you have tried with a person, you try to, sometimes you just got to let some of these relationships go, even with family, okay? I'm going to be very clear on that. Now, I'm not telling nobody to go mend or fix no relationship with somebody that it's just not there. I've tried. This person can't be trusted. I don't trust them. I don't want them around me. I'm an advocate for leaving people where the hell they at. You ain't got to go back reaching for nobody, trying to make nobody come and get on your level, because what y'all got to understand is when you start elevating, you start going to new heights, the people that you used to deal with, they are compatible with the old you. They're not compatible with the new you. They can't go where you're going. They don't fit into your future. So let things go. Okay? Another long-term effect is repeating generational patterns. Unhealthy behaviors are passed down if they're not addressed. And that is my goal. That is why I'm here today. That is why you're listening to me, because my goal and my passion is to not have this passed down from me to my kids, to my grandkids, so on and so forth. The buck stops here. The generational toxicity, the generational curses. Like when I think of generational curses now, because I've dove a little deeper into it, those curses is a long list of toxic bull crap. A lot of the things that I will be covering in this series. So make sure you come back. Okay, every 2 weeks. We're going to be talking about this, and I got a whole lot of stuff I got to say about the dysfunction of the family. So, if you liked this episode, make sure you come back. I'm not done, though. I ain't done. But definitely repeating those generational patterns is that's so huge for me, because I see a lot of the things that was passed down, and I can see me knocking them down. Like if I was in a fight with them, I'm just punching them, and they just oh, poor communication, boom. Lack of accountability, boom. Lack of financial literacy, boom. It's y'all gonna have to come back for the rest. I ain't gonna give y'all the list of the series because I want y'all to come back. But I do want to say that I'm really proud of this generation that I am within, because I see a lot of us standing up, and it's hey, I'm not my trauma. I'm not sending this down to my kids. You cannot come with me. You gotta go. This is not it. And I love that for us. I love that we are taking on accountability when it comes to this generational toxicity, this dysfunctional family thing. And we ain't letting our kids go through that. I'm traumatized. I ain't gonna traumatize you. All right? All right. So the next thing is fear of expressing emotions. Growing up in emotionally repressed environments causes internalized struggles. My God. Growing up in emotionally repressed environments causes internalized struggles. Do you know how many people are walking around sitting on greatness, purpose, just all type of wonderful things that God have instilled in them, but they can't get it out or express it because when they were a little kid, somebody installed this fear in them. They probably was like, oh, you ain't gonna be nothing. You will never be nothing. You gonna be just like your daddy. You gonna be just like your mama. You ain't and you tell a person that stuff so many times that they start believing it, and then they grow up into this adult and they are brilliant, they have great ideas, but they just hold it all in because they still can hear that person when they was a kid telling them how they wasn't gonna be nothing, and how now they have this fear of being who they are, of serving a purpose that God has instilled in them. I don't know. I don't know who that was for. I feel like it was for me a little bit. Maybe it was. All right. So now we're going to get into solutions. Solutions to dysfunction within the family. Because there are solutions for every problem. We got to have a solution. So I'm going to talk to y'all, and don't y'all be cutting off these episodes when I be telling y'all what I'm saying, okay? Because I'm talking to all of us. I'm talking to me. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to everybody. So don't be turning off these episodes, because at the end of each episode, baby, I'm going to give you a solution. I'm going to tell you what we can do to get this thing together, how we can come together, how we can be great. There's always a solution to the problem. So just stick with me, all right? So, first solution. Encourage open conversations. You can start small, build on that trust, and then boom. You know what I'm saying? It might be just a little hey, how you doing text message, just something small, and then you can build on that. Again, if it's somebody that you know you can't trust and ain't no building, because they going to keep knocking the blocks down, you build, they knock them down, don't waste your time. Just don't waste your time. It's not worth it. Every relationship ain't worth trying to fix, you know. But the ones that are, the ones that will hurt your soul if they pass away tomorrow, like I wasn't talking to them and they passed away. Those are the relationships I'm talking about. Those are the ones you go reach for. Okay? Active listening. Truly hear others' perspectives without preparing a rebuttal. So this is listening to understand, not listening to respond. A lot of people listen to respond. Oh, I heard what you said. And they can only hear one thing you said. Like you said a whole bunch of stuff, but it was just one thing that stuck out to them and they just gonna harp on that. They're not even addressing the totality of the conversation of everything you said. They're just gonna be like, oh, well, you said this. I said a lot of stuff, and that's all you heard. So listen, active listening, so that you can have a logical response. Because when you have a logical response and you talk in an even tone instead of yelling and y'all can hear each other, you can come up with a solution and then y'all figure out it was a misunderstanding anyway, it was miscommunication. I thought you said this, but you really said that. I thought it was this day, but it was really this day. Oh, I'm sorry. That's another thing that people don't do. Apologize. Why y'all don't be apologizing? Why? If you're wrong, just apologize. It's okay. It's truly okay. Healthy conflict resolution. What does that look like? So when you have healthy conflict resolution, you use phrases like I feel instead of blaming. Like you I feel. Now, this something I don't like. When I'm talking to somebody and I'm telling them how I feel and I'm using I feel statements because I've learned to do this because it's important and, it shows emotional intelligence. And I do this when I talk to people and I say, I feel, and people tell me, you don't feel like that. You don't feel, how in the hell are you going to tell me how I feel? I'm telling you how I feel and you telling me I don't feel like that. Please get out my face, please. Those are the type of people I just don't have a desire to have a conversation with because obviously you're listening to respond and not understand. And it's a waste of my breath. It's a waste of my energy. We're not doing it. Okay. Anyway, so something else that you guys can think about as a solution is therapy and self-work. Healing starts by understanding and unlearning dysfunctional patterns. You have to understand what needs to be healed first. And if it's a pattern of something that you've learned, you have to unlearn it. If it's a thing like abandonment, it's always good to try to go back and remember where that abandonment came from. And I guarantee you 99.9% of the time, it's going to be a childhood wound that needs to be dealt with. So you got to go back. You got to say, oh, that childhood wound, what happened? Who wasn't there? Who played in my face? What happened? And start to heal from it. Whatever healing looks like for you. Healing is not the same for everybody. Everybody's not going to heal on the same level, same pace. It's how you heal and what works for you. Okay. And then another thing that has to absolutely positively happen, and I will talk about this as long as I have breath in my body and that I have the healing version, is setting boundaries. You have to establish clear limits on what behaviors you will and won't accept. You have to do this with family as well, y'all. Family is the largest group within your within your life. The largest group within your life that you have to set boundaries with. Because if you don't, family has this way of trying to make you feel like you owe them something or you have to do it because they're your family. Like, I'm your uncle, I'm your auntie, I'm your sister, I'm your cousin. Girl, you gotta do this. Like, you gotta, like if you have a business, right? And you have clientele that's family and they feel like, oh, because I'm your family member, I get a discount. Now, if you have a family discount, I'm not speaking on that. I'm not talking about that. That's great. I love that for you. I'm speaking of the people who don't have a family discount and they want everybody to pay regular price. I don't see what the problem is in that. You should be paying regular price and giving them a nice tip because they're family. I mean, I tip anyway, but I tip family extra. I'm just gonna let y'all know. So when you are expecting a handout or the Lolo from your family, like you're not respecting their boundaries. If they don't come up with that price and tell you, okay, your family, so you pay this price, don't you out your mouth say nothing about getting a lower price because it's family. How dare you? Shame on you. Ugh. Okay, so yeah, I'm disgusted. I'm really disgusted. That's why you keep hearing the noise. Ugh. But anyway, so something else that has to happen and that is truly important and that I will talk about throughout this series is building healthy relationships. How do you build healthy relationships? Well, I don't know, guys, because I don't really have any. No, I'm kidding. If your family won't change, create a supportive chosen family, right? So I feel like I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna keep it a buck, because if I don't keep it a buck, I won't be myself. I feel like it's some people within our family, if you're listening, I feel like it's people within our family that's never going to change. Like they're just stuck in that dimension of toxicity that they're in. I hope they change, but I don't see, and it's really a lot of our parents' generation. I just don't see them changing. So those type of people you have to deal with from a distance. Like, I love you, I care about you, I wish you all the best, but I will not be subject to your toxicity. I will not be sitting around while you are gaslighting and denying having a healthy relationship because you're setting your ways because of things that happened to you as a child or as a teenager, as an adult, whatever you went through, and it's bothering you and you're just refusing to heal from it so that you can have healthy relationships. Like, please leave me alone. Please get out of my face. I don't care who you are, what the relationship is. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not disturbing my peace. No. If you want to have a healthy relationship and you want to work towards, building a great foundation, with no Legos up under the rug, I'm good with that. Let's do that. I'm okay with that. But if you show me that you can be trusted, I'm not, like, I ain't gullible. I'm not playing with nobody. Like, if you have snake ways, like you a snake, I don't deal with snakes. Like, I leave snakes in the grass where they belong, and I'm, sitting over here on the porch sipping, something like that. But yeah, healthy relationships, very important, part of the solution. You know who you can have a healthy relationship with and who you can't have a healthy relationship with. Act accordingly. Hey y'all, and thanks so much for coming back for another episode of the Healing Virgin podcast. I really, really appreciate you guys. Please make sure that you follow on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram. Please, please, please subscribe to my YouTube. I thank y'all again for being here and joining me for the first episode on the Dysfunctional Family series. Next episode, we will be talking about generational trauma. So we're going to dive deep into that because y'all, as you know, this thing, generational curses, all of those things are passed down. We be dealing with somebody karma, they ain't got nothing to do with us, but we're going to get into it. Again, thank y'all for being here. I love y'all. Thank y'all for the support. Peace.